Welcome to Different Parks and Recreation at Home. I'm Stephen Gary with Social Enrichment, and I'm here to do kinetic explosions with you today. It's a pretty simple thing. It can be a little tedious at times, but a little perseverance, you'll make it happen. All the things you need for this are basically popsicle sticks. You want to make sure that you have the wider popsicle sticks. The thin ones, they're okay, but not the greatest to work with. These thicker ones definitely hold the tension a little bit better and are easy to kind of manipulate and maneuver as you're working. You also want to have a large open area. I'm doing this on the table, but it is definitely easier to work on a carpet because as you are pressing onto the sticks, it's easy to kind of slide the sticks around on the carpet versus a table. The table's kind of hard, doesn't really give when you're pushing on it. Also, for another kinetic explosion, you may want rubber bands and dominoes. Dominoes work well, but rubber bands are a little bit easier, as dominoes, as you'll see later on, they're a little bit harder to kind of wedge between two sticks because of the height of them. But like I said, it's still doable. All this stuff is still doable at home with things that you have. So you may be thinking, what is a kinetic explosion? So what it is, if you may have seen it on YouTube, it's basically like a chain reaction of things, similar to dominoes toppling over. These are sticks that have been woven together under pressure, and when you trigger one stick, the rest just kind of explode off. So you may have seen sticks that are flying up in the air as they're traveling along, kind of like an Indiana Jones style explosion going on. That's kind of what we're going to be making today. I have 4 different types of kinetic explosions that you can set up. I'll be demoing 2 of them and kind of showing you how to make most of them, or all of them. So before we get into that, I want to show you the ones that we're making. So we have this first one here. It's called the diamond, as you can kind of see the diamond shape in it. This one I'll just be showing you how to make. I won't be making a long chain of, but you'll know how to make this one. We have the box, pretty simple, straightforward. And we have a cobra, as you can see here. And then the 4th one is a little bit of a surprise. I didn't make an example here just because of it's fragile. And if I were to trigger it, it would fly popsicle sticks and I might get hit in the face, and I don't want to do that. So, cobra here. So, as you can see, I have my sticks painted. So I'm going to paint a couple sticks for you here, and then we'll kind of jump into the rest of it. That way it's easier to identify which stick goes where. Otherwise, you're just looking at plain sticks weaving underneath each other. It's kind of hard to follow. So I have with me my paint here. And of course, if you are working, say, on a carpet, you want to make sure that you are being safe with the surface you're working on. I'm sure you don't want to paint your carpet, whether it's old, new, or whatever. So lay down a tarp. Or in my case, I have some cardboard. And so it's pretty easy to do. Paintbrushes, lay out, you can kind of see I've already done some. Lay out your popsicle sticks. And the easiest way to paint a lot at once versus painstakingly painting each and every single one of them by hand is simply lay them out like so. You do how many you need. Just trying to demonstrate how I paint a lot of them. Then you can, of course, paint more at home. So lay them out like so. Take a piece of duct tape. About the width there. Yep, perfect. And then just simply tape down just the edge. Obviously, you don't want to tape down the whole thing. And then, there you go. They're not going anywhere while you paint. Nice, super simple, easy trick. That way, you're not having to paint each and every single popsicle stick, unless you want to. You're more than welcome to. But here we are. Right here. Perfect. Got a handy brush. Once again, making sure that you're on a surface that's okay to be a little messy. Paint a little bit. The best way, I don't have a cup, see here I got paint on me. So gloves might be handy. Take a little bit of paint, squirt a little bit on there, and then simply just brush it across. Doesn't have to be the prettiest job. And then it's also a great stress release. Painting is very calming to some. Some it may not be calming, but gotta find the joy in the little things, right? I'm going to put this brush in the bag, and then I will clean it later. You don't want blue paint anywhere else. Painted sticks, I'll set these to the side. Let those dry. Move on to our pink. A little shake there. Squirt some on there. And paint it. See, the pink is a little bit easier on the pink. So it just varies from paint to paint, maybe brand to brand, how easy it is to spread it on there. And of course, you don't have to use blue and pink. I just use those because they're very vibrant colors, and blue is actually my favorite color. So, a little bit of side note there. Get that painted. And we're good to go. So, of course, brush goes back in the bag. That goes to the side. Paint goes back. And then we'll set this aside to let it dry. In the meantime, so how does all this work? A little bit of science behind it. Obviously, I'm just in a lab coat. Got Stim Master Steven here. Got to spit some science on you, right? So how it works is very easy. It works by tension. And tension is a force. Okay, you may have heard the word force thrown around everywhere. The force of an impact, or a force of a swing, or the force of a storm. The force is the amount of energy in an object to move something or to do work. It's a push or pull on an object. Okay, and so the force is what is building or has built energy in this chain. It's called potential energy. Okay, so I have a little diagram here for you. So, excuse my little stick drawings here. But, so we have a straight popsicle stick here, right? There's no force on this other than gravity pulling it down, okay? Even when it's here though, since it has that gravity force on it, there's potential energy in this stick. Now it may seem like there's no energy in the stick, but yes, what happens is my hands are holding this stick up, okay? I'm applying a force upwards on the stick to keep it at bay with gravity. If I were to push harder than gravity going upwards, the stick flies, of course. If gravity was stronger, or this had more mass, of course it would go down if I couldn't match the force coming down on it. Okay, so that's the potential energy. The potential energy is the energy stored that is ready to go into kinetic energy, which is the energy of movement. Okay. Now, when the sticks are bent, then I am doing work and applying a force on this stick. Okay, and I'm loading it up with energy because this stick wants to be straight. All right. Anytime you alter the shape of something that isn't meant really to be altered, it wants to revert to that basic state it was in, its resting state. So as I do this, there's potential energy in here. And as I release it, it would fly off and convert into kinetic energy. You can kind of see a lovely little diagram here. So when they're weaved into their chain, the sticks are pushing down and up on each other. And they're kind of balancing each other out, but there's energy stored within that bend. Okay? The wood fibers here at this bend are stretching. And since it's not a rubber band that is made to stretch, they want to go back to that shape, that original shape. And even rubber bands want to go back to their original state. Okay? Then also, on the underside of that stick, there's compression happening. And anytime you compress something that doesn't necessarily want to be compressed, it's going to pop back on you. So you have two areas that are trying to get back to their original state. Okay? And just to kind of show that in action, so pretend this finger is a stick going down here, my thumb is a stick pushing up, and of course my other finger is a stick. As I apply force, if I remove one of these fingers on the edge, okay, my stick's going to fly. So it's kind of what's happening in our lovely little weave here. Okay? All of that tension woven into each other has created enough potential energy to create a kinetic explosion of the sticks. All right? So that's how it works, how it happens. And you get to learn how to do that. Okay? So let's jump right in and learn how to make some kinetic explosions. Okay, so going into our first kinetic explosion is the square. So this one you can see it's called the square because simply it's a square. It's pretty easy to do. You only need 6 sticks to start it off. As you can see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 plus 3, 6. We're going to use some of the sticks that I have prepared for you while other ones are drying, just to kind of show you how it's done. Now, you also, like I said, you don't have to have painted sticks, but I do this just to help show you. We're going to keep the same pattern. We're going to go with pink. So, to start, you're going to take your first stick here and lay it down. And you're going to take your other 2 sticks, your blue sticks, they're going to go on top, like so. Then you're going to take another blue stick, kind of raise up a little bit, slide it in the middle. So it's pretty easy there. And you take another pink. This is where the weaving happens. Kind of hold down on these top sticks. You want to go over, under, and over. And what you're doing is this stick wants to be on top, but since you're pushing down with this pink stick, it's going to lock this stick in place. Okay? This stick wants to come from underneath here, but since this middle of this pink stick is pushing up, it's going to stay in place. And same thing as this one over here. Now, you can kind of see it's kind of frail, but this stick is sticking super far up because this middle stick, like I said, is pushing upwards. So when I push it down, everything is locked. This one wants to go down, so guess what? I'm going to put a blue stick here, and it's going to go underneath. And then this stick, since it wants to go up, going to go over top. I should be using a pink stick. It's okay. Mix up pattern. Just got to roll with it. Go here, on top. As you can see, it's a little tricky sometimes. And go like so. And that is a single cell square bomb. Now, of course, if I were to throw this or drop it, it's kind of sturdy, but if I throw it, it goes exploding. Or if I can trigger this one stick and it should pop just a little bit. See? It's not as strong as other kinetic explosions, but when we chain it, it gets a little bit stronger. So I'm going to show you how to chain it and make it longer. So we'll start back here. We'll go on top. Blue stick underneath. These will go on top this time to show you that you can start however you'd like. The important part is the weaving of the sticks. We'll go here. Now, here's the important part and how to make this longer. Before, we close it with a single pink stick. We don't want to do that. We want to extend it with these blue sticks. Go here. And like I said before, these want to go up or go down. So we're going to put a stick underneath it so that it helps lock it in place. And this is where having that carpet comes in handy so that you can kind of press into the carpet and slide it underneath. I have to kind of lift it a little bit to get my sticks under there, so forgive me for struggling a little bit. There we go. Then we put another blue stick on top of this one here, like so. Now we use another pink stick. And this will go right in here. So you can kind of guess where it's going to go. It's going to go underneath this one because it wants to go up. Here. There we go. We're going to put one on top of this one so it secures it in place. And then this one down. And you'll kind of start to see a pattern happen. So before I attached this chain, you saw this middle stick sticking up, right? Now, you see, I'll kind of hold it here. These 2 sticks are wanting to come up. So you got to hold those down to keep your chain in place. All right? We'll add on another one. So you can kind of guess where those blue sticks are going to go. Since they want to come up, you're going to put sticks on top of them. Keep them in place. Since this one's pushing down, I'm going to put a stick underneath to lock it in place. All right? And then we guess where, we don't have to really guess, but we want to keep this in place, so we're going to put a stick on top, slide it and weave it, that stick on top there. And so here's our pattern coming back. You can kind of see that middle stick is popping up. So that's how you know you're on the right track. It'll keep alternating which one is sticking up on you. And there we go. And so you can continue on, or you can choose to end it. If you want to end it, of course, pink stick, you'll go underneath, or on top of the stick sticking up, and lock it in place. And with these, you can move them however you'd like. I mean, of course, if it's a longer chain, you're not going to be able to move it as easily. But a smaller chain like this, you can pick up and move around and show your friends how cool it is. All right. Now, the longer it is, the better the explosion it will be, because the more potential energy you're putting into the system. So when I trigger this, it's not going to be as elaborate and crazy explosion, but you can always Google square stick explosion and you will see a larger one. I have a demo of some other chains that are much larger to show you kind of that wow effect of the big explosion. So we'll pull our locking stick up and we'll kind of let this go, and you can kind of see it just pops up. And that's what happens when you get a longer one. It'll have a chain of just them just kind of boop, popping up, like the ground's exploding underneath it. It's a pretty cool effect when you get a big one. But to keep the ball rolling, I'll move this one aside. And then I will show you our next one. So we're going to move on to our diamond weave. I like this one just because it kind of looks cool. It didn't have a crazy explosion like I thought it would when I set it off like that, but it's still pretty cool. So what we do is we take our starter stick. I use black just because it was a nice little starting point. We put our sticks like so on top. That way they get locked in place, okay? Then we take these sticks here and we go like so. We're going to move them, but just to show you how it goes. Take your pink sticks, put them on top in the middle. And then get this little cool swivel action going. You can swivel and slide to lock it in place. Take it out and over. And so now our pinks are outside, our blue's in the middle. Kind of following that rule of our box. See, the blue is sticking up, so we have to push down to keep it together. Okay? So then we want to follow the blue sticks. Blues are always going to go on blue, and pink will always go on pink. So we take our blue, put it down, like so. Boom, making sure we're holding that blue in place. All it takes is really one finger. Then we take our pink, I'm going to pull from the ones that I had. Take our pink. They're wanting to push down. See how they're not up? So we have to slide underneath. If you're on carpet, you just got to push and slide. I have to kind of shimmy it and pick it up, like so. Okay, now, since this is floating up top, we need to pull our pink over the blue, like so. Kind of lift up, swivel, making sure it's tucked, and goes over the blue. And then, once I push down here, I can remove my finger, and it stays in place. And to continue this pattern, all you have to do is keep following the middle. So you'll grab more pink, and continue on, and going to kind of your diamond pattern. If you want to stop this chain, however, a simple weave across the top, like we did our bottom. You'll go underneath, because it's wanting to push down. You can hear that force in there. Push down, go on top, and then go underneath. And that will lock your chain in place. You can see what we got here. Okay? So I'll continue it on for you to kind of show you its explosion effect. So I add a couple more on here. So we're going on top. We're going outwards. These ones on the edge are going here. Oops, sorry, gotta go underneath. I got myself mixed up there. Oop, gotta finagle it a little bit. You can kind of see why the carpet is very handy. All right, we want to go on top here to keep those pink sticks in place. And go like that. We'll do one more chain just to kind of show you something. We'll go here on top. We'll do our pink. Our pink here. We'll weave those. And then we'll lock it in place so that we can turn it. All right, this should be long enough to show a little something there. So to trigger these, you can trigger from either end, and depending on the weave, it will do a different effect. For this one, we're just going to trigger from this end, and you can kind of see what will happen. And so I'm just going to carefully kind kind of undo this one. You can kind of see how it goes. Sticks kind of flop out. Of course, the longer it is, the more dramatic the explosion will be. Okay? So that is our diamond weave. Then next, before we get into our cobra, which is one I like, it's like my second favorite, I want to show you just a simple throwing explosion that you can do. Of course, don't throw it at anybody, maybe the floor or a wall. Want to be safe. Is you'll take 3 sticks, kind of make this teepee shape. Okay, your 2 sticks are going to be here. They can kind of be like next to each other or on top of each other. It doesn't really matter too much. Take our blue stick. We're going to weave. Since these 2 sticks are on top, we're going to make sure we put a blue stick over them and a blue stick underneath this middle one. So I weave that there. You may have seen this maybe in school or friends have done it. They kind of say, oh, look at this, and they throw a stick on the ground, it explodes. This is that stick. Take our blue. So now this one's sticking up. We have to go underneath and over. And we have our small little handheld one. So this one you could probably throw at the ground and sticks will explode, or throw at a wall and it'll explode. Or you can just kind of trigger it with your finger. If I can get it. It will kind of pop out like that. Another cool one you can do. You can talk to friends about the forces that are happening as the sticks are bending. Kind of spit some knowledge on them. Okay, moving on. Going on to our cobra here. Now this one is a little tricky, and tricky is in the start. The trick is in the start. Okay, so I'm going to leave this one here so you can kind of look at it and follow along with what I'm doing. So starting off, take our stick. We're making a V shape, or a kind of a sideways V shape, I guess. We're going to put a stick on top. So this angle stick is on the bottom. This one goes on top. And we're going to take a pink stick. And since this is on top, we need a stick to go over it to lock it in place. So I put my stick down, raise up with the finger, and slide it over. Make sure it's in there good so it'll stay. Then you want to make sure you hold it. This one is one you have to kind of hold at different parts to make sure it doesn't just explode on you. And then another pink stick. Since this one is sticking up on top, pink stick on top. This one wants to go down. You can hear that. We want to put it on top and slide it underneath this down one. Right here, like so. All right, here we go. You can already see it's trying to fight me. There's a lot of force going on. So we take our blue. Now see, this one is coming up. We want to put a stick over it and slide it underneath. This one here, like so. And so now we've got our start going, and we're simply going to just weave alternating. So the next stick will be blue or pink going this way. The next one will be blue going this way, and then pink and blue. That's why I have the painted stick, so you can kind of see the pattern that's going on. Okay, so it's pink, blue, pink, blue, pink, blue. Right here, this stick is on top. Here, we're raising up and going on top. Now, here's where you can get tripped up. So you see how this stick is here is up, okay? If we were to cover a stick right here, we would end up locking this and it would stop once it hits right here. So we don't want to do that. We want to just use a blue stick and go over and kind of fight it a little bit, like so. We just want to go right there. We want to skip this stick here, okay? And then once we've skipped that stick, that's the tricky part. The rest is pretty easy. It's smooth sailing from there. We go over and under. And once again, with carpet, it's just a little easier to slide and maneuver. So now we have these 2 sticks here. We're going to put a blue, go over and under, making sure we're holding down this stick. This is the important stick. If I let this go, the rest of it goes. Go here and over. Now we have our chain. Now if we want to lock it and make sure it doesn't go anywhere, or say we want to pause and come back, we put a stick over here. We put a stick underneath this one. You gotta fight this one a little bit and put a stick over that one. You can kind of see it's a little sketchy, but you pretty much got it locked in place. And you can pull that out and keep going, okay? Or you can do a stick underneath this one, a stick over this one, and a stick under this one. Whoop. But make sure you don't pop it out. There's another way. You can lock it there, and it won't go anywhere. And then, of course, to release it, you can either release from this end or from this end. All right? But I'm going to continue this on just to kind of show you a little bit of what it does. I'll do my last final weave, and then we'll show you the big demos I have set up for you. And then you want to be careful while you're doing this too, is that you're not too close to the end there, because you may accidentally bump it or hit it, and if it's just barely hanging on, then you'll lose what's behind you. And then all that work and time you spent will be gone in a flash. But sometimes that's the fun of it. And honestly, once you get into a good groove, it's kind of relaxing. You just kind of go with it. All right, so we'll leave it there. That should be good. And then, like I said, with our 3, we'll lock it. We'll go underneath. We'll go over, and we'll go under. And there it is. It's locked. So to trigger it, we have this little stick here. All you'll do, actually make it this way because it's easier because I'm right-handed, is you'll push the stick out, and it'll pop out. So let's see here. Gotta finagle it just a little bit. It's kind of nerve-wracking. It's like, oh, it's gonna go. There we go. Woo! That's a big one. You kind of see, just explodes. You'll actually see the pattern once we get a larger shot of everything. You'll see the pattern that it kind of makes. Depending on which end you make, it'll either make kind of like a scorpion tail or a wave, which is a really cool thing. So, moving on to our last final one. This one is my favorite one. It is definitely the harder, I think, of the explosions, only because you have to fight with rubber bands a little bit. And the rubber bands are a little tricky. But what you do, and I'll make this a small one, just because it takes a little bit of time. The smaller rubber bands work better for this one because you don't have to double wrap it. Otherwise, you have to risk losing your explosion to messing up your wrapping of the rubber band. So what you do, take your rubber band and take your domino or eraser or whatever you have, and you're going to make a sandwich, a weird looking sandwich like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your rubber band and just pinch it on there like so. If it's a small rubber band, you can get away with just doing one. I will say the stronger the pull in it, the more explosive the reaction is, obviously. But for this sake, I'm just going to show you just the one. Then, whoop, see? That's why it's tricky. That's okay. We're going to pinch it again. And maybe even having a helper hand is helpful as well. Say you've got mom or dad or brother, sister, whoever's there with you. They can help you start it. Because the start is definitely the hardest part. Going to finagle this on here. Then you're going to take the other end and rubber band it. Making sure, whoop, see, already. Well, now it's on there. Take it and sandwich it. And what we'll do, if this one end is pushing a little harder than the other, that's okay. We'll just slide this out. We may actually just slide this in some. We have our start. Don't breathe on it. It won't fall, but not really. Now, it's as simple as setting them up. You do it again, but this time you only have to worry about one end, which is the lovely part about this one. This, you might be able to see, this popsicle stick is a little warped, so we're not going to use that one because it will mess it up a little bit. So stack here, rubber band, rubber band one end. Now that we got our rubber band on one end, going to carefully, these two sides, since this force is pulling down on these rubber bands with this, the rubber band is pulling down on these two popsicle sticks, they want to open up. So we want to stop that. So we're going to take our rubber bands and kind of prop them inside our other one, carefully. And so what we've done is we've now trapped the energy by this other stick. And so when we release this stick here, this will fly off, creating a chain reaction of explosions. So, or this stick too, either one. So to continue it, we're going to go zigzagging motion. And I'll show you. Go here. Whoop. That's the tricky part. Have our two. Carefully pinch it here and slide it in there. You can kind of see the taller the object is, the greater the force on the rubber band, of course, but the harder sometimes it is to keep that object balanced inside. But you can kind of see there. There we go. I'll do a couple more just to kind of show you how it goes, and then we'll move on to our large scale demo that I set up for you. Get our sticks going. There we go. Yep, right there. And then we'll squeeze that in there like so. Ooh, almost lost the domino there. All right, we'll do one more, and I'll show you. There we go. I can get it. It's when that finger dexterity, those motor skills come in. There we go. Turn it around and place here. All right. So this is our mini version of it. So like I said, this is the key right here, or even this one. Either or works, because what you're doing is you're releasing this rubber band, or this rubber band will release this popsicle stick, which will fly up in the opposite direction of the rubber band that you release. Then this stick that's being trapped by here will then fly up, and it will set off a chain reaction through this one. And that potential energy that's stored right here will release and change to kinetic energy. The potential energy here will be able to be released, and it will just keep changing and chaining to create a lovely little explosion. Okay, so when we set it off, we're going to set it off actually from this end right here. And so you want to be careful. Hold your stick down. And I almost set it off there on accident, but there we go. You can kind of see. Accidents happen. Our first popsicle stick fell out. Our first domino fell out, but it'll still allow the rest to kind of fly off, and you'll kind of saw a little bit of the effect. But luckily for you, I have set up a larger chain already for you, and we can show you that now. Okay, so here I have the larger version of my domino explosion that I showed you earlier. It's a nice little lovely chain that I had set up, so you get to see it in full effect, how it kind of just triggers off. All right, so let's try and set this off. Make sure I don't mess this up. Carefully remove our rubber band. Perfect, so I have removed the trigger, and let's give a little countdown, I guess. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and there it goes. So it's pretty cool, it's pretty violent, but of course you can watch it again, you can see how each stick just fires off. It's one of my favorite ones to look at. So we have this, I have one more to show you, and that'll wrap us up. All right, so here is our second demo. This is the larger chain of the Cobra so that you can kind of see the effect it makes. So let's jump right into it. All right, pull a little trigger stick here, give a little countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, and there you have it. You can kind of see that little scorpion lift off it tries to do. Of course, the longer the chain, the greater effect you'll see. The cool little scorpion tail, and it's pretty fun. So I hope you enjoyed learning all about the kinetic explosions, a little bit about force, energy, potential energy, kinetic energy, and you can try this at home. Thanks for tuning in.